We want to provide individual cops, departments, and teams with the best, most modern tactics, solutions for law enforcement with the best backend that they can have, whether it's at the individual level or at the team level or at the department level, to change what the professional law enforcement looks like on body cam, to make it safer for cops, but to make it safer for society.
You're listening to the HOTWASH by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm Bruno Fallon. I've spent my 4-decade career in some of the most elite units in the United States Special Operations community, where I learned that elite operators aren't made overnight. They're forged through hardship, discipline, and relentless drive. In each episode, I sit down with the most accomplished and innovative leaders in special operations, industry, coaching, and athletes of all disciplines. Let's jump right in. All right, everybody, welcome back to the HOTWASH by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm still Bruno. I haven't changed. Got some great guests here that we've been trying to get in town for a while. We got Jay and Scott here from Effective Fitness Combatives. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having us.
And then we got one secret agent off camera that if he has any input, we're gonna listen to him. So if you hear another voice off mic, we might be being coached. But well, we can always use it. You know that, man. So guys, welcome. We've been talking, it started out actually talking on Instagram, and I started paying attention to what you guys were doing. And then I do what I do is I reached out to the community. I'm like, who are these guys? Are they just Instagram famous or are they legit? And I found out you guys are legit as fuck, which is awesome. I love that. And we started talking about trying to get you guys down here and actually partner up more with you guys. So thank you for coming. From what I can speak to the experience level you guys have, it's very unique. The one thing I really like is not just your primary cadre, but like your junk cadre that you plus up with in regional areas. Everybody's got law enforcement experience. Everybody is experienced in combatives and Brazilian jiu-jitsu with a very high degree of training. And almost all of them have been on tactical teams, which you pair all three together and that puts together the real world picture. So the first question I have is how did you have the vision for this? I mean, how did it all start?
I actually went to a PPCT instructor course in 2003, I believe it was, for law enforcement, like DT, pressure point control tactics. And I left there thinking like, I got to learn how to fight.
Got it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, because you learned how to fight, obviously.
Yeah. So I only wrestled through like 8th grade. So I wasn't like a super good wrestler. I was extremely athletic. I played soccer collegiately, and that was like where all my time and effort went into. So when I went to the academy in 99, 2000, I didn't have like a significant background in the military or any of that kind of stuff. So I just had to learn everything from the beginning. And I had a couple arrests where the guy was bigger than me. He was drunk and wanted to fight. And just thankfully he was so drunk that it helped me fight him. And then I was like, I got to learn how to fight. So I started actually seeking out to do like jiu-jitsu MMA, and in early 2000s in Western New York, there was hardly any, if any. So it's a pretty big pedigree for wrestling though. Like a lot of my buddies were wrestlers and state champs or state qualifiers. And so I picked those guys. Hey, let's start training. Let's start sparring. MMA was becoming what it is now. At the start, it was like jiu-jitsu ruled for a while, then wrestling ruled for a while, and then strikers that weren't getting taken down started to rule, and it's changed hands. But it's like I started to like want to fight and train in MMA, so I just started training, getting groups of guys together, and we had to travel and go to seminars and come back and train more, and that's kind of just where it started.
Yeah, but you got a long commitment. You were 20 plus years in law enforcement.
Yep, 22.
And then, what degree black belt are you in BJJ right now?
So 3rd degree in BJJ, which is I've been a black belt for 9 years, but I really started fighting with no realistically jiu-jitsu rank besides just training with buddies and people in the area, and started fighting MMA. And my last MMA fight, I think, was only a purple belt. So like I didn't even really hone into like training strictly jiu-jitsu until, in halfway through fighting. But I think the MMA style of grappling and fighting has really helped my vision of the police world of combatives.
Absolutely. The one thing I can say outside looking in, especially everybody I talk to, is you're taking every discipline that's out there and applying it where it needs to be applied versus this discipline is used for this. It's basically, hey, it's a situation to react to, and a blend works, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, you got to know how to strike. Because striking, you can engage. Striking help you disengage. Striking can create a behavior change, right? So striking is important. I got to be able to take people down. So I got to know how to wrestle a bit, because if you go into most jujitsu gyms, and I get hated on by jujitsu guys sometimes because it's like, make jujitsu mandatory. No, it's make grappling, or make like MMA type mandatory, because you go walk into most jujitsu gyms, they are not good at takedowns. Half the gyms start grappling on their butts, right? So it's like, you have to be good at wrestling fundamentals, and then you have to be good at being able to, have some sort of ground game on the ground. And that's a blend of jujitsu and wrestling. In wrestling, you don't want to put your back to the mat, so you turn your back. Well, you don't really want to turn your back in a non-sterile environment fight, because that's when hands are exposed and those types of things, right? But you have to also tweak those wrestling takedowns. There's a video that just went viral last week, I think, where the guy knocks on the door, and as he does, the guy like starts to come out like in a threatening manner, and the cop shoots a double leg on him, head down double. He's in deep on it, but he doesn't see the knife in the guy's hand. He takes 2 stab wounds. The cop then wrestles him to the door, takes 2 more stab wounds over the top. He doesn't even know he's getting stabbed yet, right? But that shot, he was in deep and he gets a takedown. It was an effective takedown. The problem is he loses control of the hands. He doesn't see the hands, and now he's being attacked with a weapon. It's a different environment. It's not sterile mat room for jujitsu. It's not sterile mat room for wrestling. It's not sterile MMA cage.
It's all in.
It's all in.
It's all in. I mean, it's what it is. And I mean, I look at some of the videos you guys post, and then I look at, I don't know if it's because of my feed on Instagram, but I see more failures of controlling people by law enforcement officers because they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And some of the other like I work with Community First Foundation, who trains law enforcement in active shooter response. It's typically not the law enforcement officer's problem if they haven't been provided the training. They've got to be given the training, right?
That's the broken police model, though. As a profession, as a model, if you look at society, they look at you as a cop. They think every cop is a trained robot. Unfortunately, most cops are like undertrained. They're a normal person that comes to work, puts a gun belt and a badge on, and then goes and handles calls, tries to solve people's problems. And then we have these traumatic events that occur, and they're expecting them to be perfect. Human element doesn't allow that, but they're not even good because the training is poor.
Got it. So as you've grown and expanded, talk about how you brought this one into the fold, because he also comes from that tactical background, and it sounds like you pulled him away from the job to do this full time, which tells me you're all in if you're willing to hang the badge up and full time and go do this.
So I'm lucky enough to have built a team of adjunct instructors that I would pick 4 or 5 guys to work full time right now for us. Right. Unfortunately, they have they're already invested in, they're running full time SWAT teams, those types of things. Scott was one of those guys. Okay. And we kept pressuring Scott because it's Jay's being told is Jay's maybe a blue belt in business, maybe a white belt with 4 stripes, possibly. I'm a boots on the ground type guy, realistically, right? So it's like you're bottlenecking the company. You got to learn to delegate better. We need to get you time back. But I'm very picky with who like are my lead instructors. It's a product that me and a collective of other people, it's not just Jay that's built this entire program. I've surrounded myself with like solid savages and guys like all my career, right? That have helped build this product. Obviously having the vision and the way behind it and the way my brain thinks like has helped, but like I surround myself with people that help better the product. And Scott was one of those guys that fits the mold of what I want, right? He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He was a cop for, I think, 11 years.
13 years.
13 years, right? And he's a tactical guy. He's been on a SWAT team for however long. That is what we want, right? We work and we're training cops. We have to have guys that are skilled, one, in the environment of law enforcement. What's the use of force? Those are the rules we play by.
Right.
Bad guys have no rules. We have a use of force over here that's pretty strict. Some states, it's extremely strict, right? And then I want someone that has some level of martial arts capabilities that is a high level of knowledge, okay? And then I want someone that preferably has tactics. Now, not all my guys are SWAT team guys. but they have maybe a significant level of, maybe they're like Nogi Masters World Champions, or they're winning tons of competitions all the time. So they have a lane that they can really help us
Gives
out.
you balance.
Gives us balance. I have guys that are really good at report writing. They're black or brown belts and SWAT team leaders, but they are like significantly good at articulating things, right? You have to have balance, and it's just how you build that team. Scott was that guy. I was like, if I'm going to eventually turn over the director position to someone as we elevate and build out the company, it's got to be someone that I trust. It's got to be someone that's, the product's not going to get watered down. And Scott ended up being one of those guys, and Scott's timing was perfect for us.
So let me say two things on what you just said. You're actually training life-saving techniques out there in the real world. I'm fucking making apparel, and I have the same dilemma you do. As I grow this brand, because of the way I am, the people I bring in my team, I cannot tell you how many resumes, how many interviews, how many no's I have, because I will keep it exactly with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you guys are building a machine. That's why you guys are here right now. It's the people. I don't care what anybody says. It's the people.
It is, yeah.
Right. You know, there's this T-shirt that Special Forces has, and it says it's not the hardware, it's the people. You can't tell the generals and admirals in that, because all they want to do is invest in the hardware and not the men. But it is the men and women, you know. And then the other thing is, as far as delegating, he's who reached out to me. Him and I have been talking, so it's working.
I'm getting there. I've been told since 2022, when 2023 came around, and I was like, hey, EFC is getting too much for me to push to 25 years on. I'm bought in. I can retire, collect right away. I retired, and it's like, okay, we need to start looking for that next full-time guy. We didn't hire Scott until June 1st of this year.
Right. It's been recent.
And it's because, like, I don't want the product to get watered down.
I love that.
So it's like, I told those guys, I'm going to grind and bust my butt as much as I can. And listen, I want to get time back, right? I got a 9 and 11-year-old home still, 2 older girls at college, so I don't see them anyways, but I got a 9 and 11-year-old, and I got a wife. I need to get time back. I need to also have time to grow and scale the company. I can't do that without delegating. I'm bottlenecking, but I got to find a guy like Scott that I trust, that I'm like, I can hand stuff off to him, and it's going to be as good or maybe even better than what I'm doing it at. So the product's not watered down.
So question, when you guys are having like a work meeting and stuff like that, and stuff hits a bottleneck, do you guys just go to the mats, or how does that settle out?
Well, I lose that.
They just blame me. They just blame me. Jay's bottlenecking us again.
Got it.
You got to delegate better.
So it must, I'll just hit you direct. Like it's a big move for you to, to leave full time with your career and all that, and come take a step in, so your confidence going in the right direction.
Yeah. So they'd been probing me for a while, right? This wasn't like the first ask. Like it was like ask, and I'm like, no, I'm good. And then like a few months later, like, hey Scott, how do you feel about this? I'm like, no, I'm so good. Well, they asked at the right time, the third time. I'd started to crunch some numbers and like do some numbers with the pension versus investing things and all that type stuff. And it was like, I was already in my mind. I was on our team for 11 years I was a team leader the last 4. And like, I always told myself I wanted to go out when I'm still on the top, right? I didn't want to be one of those boat anchors that a lot of teams have. So in my mind, I was like, man, I'm getting close to like, we're going to have to move on from this thing. And it, again, just right timing by them. I was already working part-time for them, doing 3 or 4 courses a year. And they told me, hey, this is what you're going to be doing. We want you to still stay competent in this tactical world. We want to integrate that in while still doing what you do, teaching courses, and then help us build out other curriculums. And that's my passion, is teaching cops, right? So 13 and a half years in, I pulled the ripcord, and now I'm working full time. I'm still a reserve officer, so I still get to keep the badge or whatever.
Good for you.
But it so far, 2.5 months in, has been extremely rewarding. You don't realize how much weight you're holding, especially I left as a sergeant, how much weight you're holding that you don't even realize you're holding until it's off you.
No, I get it. I very similar. I did 30 years active duty and then transitioned to being a government civilian, and didn't leave the unit I was at, and did that for 10 more years. And when Bear approached me to come take a position here to start tactical up, I laughed at him like, fucking, I'm not making apparel. And he hit me a different way. He's like, hey, this is something that's broken in the community. Like, there's no apparel made for the operator with human performance in mind. And I was like, oh, I started thinking about that. I'm like, there's an opportunity. And it's weird when you step away, right? I
Yep.
mean, for me, it was 40 years. And I mean, that's what I was built for. I could have done this shit for 50 personally, but taking a step out here. But once you get into, I mean, what you guys are sounding like as a business model, we have two different missions, but we're on the exact same trajectory. Hold a standard to the highest ability you can, be loyal to your customer, right? And give your best. And man, it's fucking hard to find people that want to come into that fold. I even our coordinators that are not going out and running and gunning and shooting content and briefing customers, I'm holding to that standard because it's a team. And we do the most unique thing you've ever seen here. When we interview somebody, the entire team does the first interview, and then that person has to come with us to the range and shoot with us, and we see if they fit. And then if they've made it past those 2 wickets, I set up a formal interview with the rest of the company leadership and let the seniors chew on them at a little different angle. And I'll tell you, it's working. We haven't, on the tactical side, we have not hired somebody we've had to let go yet because of that little process. So I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, bringing them on for us, it's been fairly easy when we started because I already had a core group of adjuncts that were, because I revamped the whole New York State Post program. So I had a whole group of New York guys that were jiu-jitsu SWAT guys that were all teaching for me already for since 15 till 22. So obviously multiple years we'd been together and stuff. So I had that core nucleus to start. And then it was like, hey, as we reached out, guys are coming to the class that you get to see them training. How are they? What are their backgrounds? And then getting to meet people and just building that relationship with them. The onboarding process has been way easier that way because it's not like we just onboard people we don't know. We onboard people that have already come through the class. People that are coming in. And
You already have a feel for them.
We already have a feel for them, you know, and it might be like, hey, I want to come and I'll comp you to this class because you fit
on paper.
What we want. But one, you have to be able to hold the room. You have to be able to demo. You have to be able to build relationships with our students and our POCs, and you got to fit the team because you got to live with these guys weeks at a time sometimes.
Yeah, that's the one thing about business is, you know, and this is for the guys from my community. I get probably 20 guys a week going, Bruno, I want to come work for Born Primitive Tactical because all they see is what's on Instagram.
Sure.
And I'm like, you realize that's what's on Instagram.
Yep.
I need you, you know, I need the business side of you.
Yep.
We don't go, we're an apparel company. I spend more time worrying about clothes design than I do putting rounds on target.
And Scott just spent like an entire week, probably like 60 hours revamping our level 1 outline to be conducive to what the new guys at iAdlets wanted to get the national certification recertified. That's the behind the door stuff that people don't want to see.
Right.
Oh, you guys get to go train every day and you're traveling to these great places. They don't see the Jay sleeping in the Atlanta airport because my flight got delayed and I got in at 2 a.m. and my next flight goes out at 6 a.m.
All I see is that snippet, buddy.
That's it.
It looks sexy as fuck.
Yeah.
Right? I know. Trust me. I get it.
Your company grows behind the doors, not in front of the doors. Right.
Right.
The in front. It's like when you're training for an MMA fight or a jiu-jitsu competition, like the fight is won before you even went out there.
Right.
Right. Your training camp should be hard. The competition should be fun.
Agreed. We just had Justin Gaethje and Luke on here, and that's exactly what the message they had is they could kind of tell you, you know, before they even got into the arena how the fight was going to go. One of the and in your guys' same lane there, one of the greatest fighters of all time, Hoist Gracie, who was on here. You know, his message that I really liked when it comes to combatives and everything. When he was talking about training, I asked him a question. I was like, and it was a fitness related question because I'm a human performance guy. I'm like, what is more important, strength or endurance? And he did not even bat for a second. He's like, endurance.
100%.
He goes, there's no question that if you're the strongest guy in the room for 1 rep or for a 10-yard sprint, you're going to lose. You know, you got to be able to freaking go, and you got to be able to go. And that's, to me, in fighting, in combatives, that is exactly true. The first, well, unless you just have a clean strike on a clean striker,
Sure.
you know, but it's usually the person that's gassed and it's over. And that's what I see in all the police videos is they just start to lose control.
Fitness is the foundation of everything. I can't take credit for this saying, but I use it all the time. One of my guys that teaches with us, and he won Nogi World Masters last year. He says, "What is your currency in a combative environment?" Okay, what is your currency in a combative environment? And he says, energy. When that person is tired, the person that's more tired, that's gas tanks on E, cardio will make a coward out of all of us. We know that, right? So it's like, where can we save our energy? How do we do that? So one, fitness is a foundation. And then two, knowing how to control someone where they're wearing our weight, they're getting controlled. Or if we're creating distance, like where are we wearing these people down? And again, human performance is everything that you have to do to perform at a high level. And we're not performing in sterile environments. So we don't have a ref that can stop the fight and save us. We don't have a tap out that can stop. It's a non-sterile environment. It is different. There are multiple unknowns. There's no 100% answer. Hey, Bruno's high on drugs right now and we got to take him down. Okay. But he's got 3 buddies sitting over there that are drinking. What is their status? We don't know. Right? There's all these unknown things. Do they have weapons on them? We don't know. We have a bunch of them. Can they get to our weapons? So we train in sterile environments, but we perform in non-sterile environments, and it doesn't all transfer. There's an integration, and that is the important part, is how do you figure out this integration? You know, and I think with EFC, the benefit to us is our sister company is EFT, right? So it's the foundation is fitness, and then the combatives is where we do our teaching and our learning and transferring of knowledge.
I agree. Above everything in life, I don't care, athlete, operator, just a human being, fitness is the foundation of everything. But I like to talk about the switch. And I think that something that I've talked about on this podcast about 2,000 times is mindset. And that's something that in your business is huge. I mean, when does that patrol officer, when does that SWAT officer, when does that operator, when does that husband, when he sees something happen to his kid, have that hit that switch in that mindset and go all in? Some people don't even have it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have it. It's hard to teach it. You can, but it's hard to teach it. A lot of it's like, don't end your reps early. If you mess up, don't stop in mid-rep, fix it mid-rep, and then fix the technique later on. But, you know, we have a common phrase that we use. We say the guys that just see red. So like they don't want to train, so they have no skills. So you have to have skills and you have to have mindset, and they work together.
They do work together.
You can't just have skills and no mindset, because you could have the most talented guy in the room, and if he has a weak mindset or he's going to quit under pressure, then those skills do him no good. Now, if you have a guy that just has a super strong mindset, but he has no skills, that mindset isn't going to weigh himself through a physical problem. So you have to have both. That you have to be well-rounded in everything that we do in these combative environments. Look at just a regular dad. Can you save your kid? If you don't train and you don't have a strong mindset, could you save your kid if someone tried to kidnap him at the grocery store? That's what I ask him. No, the average police response is like 7 minutes. Who's saving your family until the cops get there?
Right.
Right? Like, you have to have mindset and you have to have a skill set, and you have to put them together.
Yeah. And mindset is one of those things to me that unless you've been full on in the situation, you don't know if you have it. That's why, that's why your instructor corps with the tactical background and the actual fighting background. That's why, the operators out in our community. That's why when you sit around the campfire, you don't have to guess who's got the mindset. Everybody sitting there does. But when you walk in somewhere to instruct, teach, or lecture, you have no clue what you're looking at there. And to be honest with you, we all know this. You cannot judge a book by its cover. Some of the biggest pussies I've ever met in my life are big monster dudes. And you're like, they're a one-punch wonder. It's over,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think a lot of big officers, like your large strapping officers, they don't get challenged as much just because they're a big dude or girl. And when they do, oftentimes it's the wheels fall off. What I think's been hounded in the profession is de-escalation for probably just after I started. And it's gotten to a point, we're all about de-escalation, right? We should try that when we can, but there's a point that if that trajectory of the suspect continues to go up, that using force here is stopping you having to use a higher level of force later on. There's a time and place where you need to take action and stop that suspect's rise in trajectory and wherever you're going. Of course, try de-escalation, but what we see cops is getting into that loop of just de-escalation, 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 and then they're having to use a much higher level of force when they do decide to use the force.
Right. And so all of that de-escalate, I mean, that applies to everything. That applies to, I saw a video the other day and I don't remember who it was. And I thought it was kind of genius. The guy was showing, it was a situational thing where a guy was getting into a fight and the girlfriend got in between him and was running her mouth and she escalated everything instead of de-escalate. And his whole point was remove that problem, de-escalate the situation. I'm like, man, I've been there. I mean, I've been in that situation where I've seen this fight wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for a third party and the de-escalation didn't happen. You see that with law enforcement videos all the time. You see it where there is two people and the person that ends up being the problem is not the one they're focusing on.
Yes.
So it's one of those where I have never in my day worn a badge, so I don't judge when I see these videos, but I have spent a career, 40 years of having situational awareness. And to me, I don't care if it's a traffic stop. Every time I would show up, I would be situationally switched on because this could be your last day on the job.
Principle number one for us, we have 5 main principles of our system. Principle number 1 is awareness.
It's huge. Awareness is something also that I think comes with time.
Sure. Experience.
The old, talk to any fighter, talk to a baseball player. You and I sitting behind home plate, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, we don't see it. You talk to a major league baseball player and the ball slows down. He can see the threads on the ball. It's the same with a fight. Once you get fighting experience, everything slows down. And it's like quarterbacks in the NFL, the Mannings and the Bradys, the game slows down for them. Experience gives you that. So if you don't train, where do you get it?
Shooting too, right? Like, let's use emergency reloads. You're a lockback, your gun's dead. You gotta reload the gun. There's multiple really good body cam videos of this occurring. Guy mag dumping, and then they're staying at lockback. They don't even know. They're so overwhelmed by the physical portion of the fight, they don't feel the gun go to lockback. You're not staring at the gun, most likely. We do level 2s, and some of our level 2s are like you're turning around. When you turn around, a guy just attacks you with a knife. The knife stats show that, hey, you don't see it till it's launched. It's within 3 feet, and they lead with their empty hand. So why aren't we putting them in these situations so they can train for the stress, how they can handle this process? A lot of these drills, we'll see guys go a lockback. They don't fix it. So instead of me just yelling for them to fix it, it's like, pause. Now say, who's got cover? Me, I got lethal cover. Do you? What are your conditions? I let them find the answer. If they're not finding the answer under stress, I'm giving it to them, and they're not going to retain, and they're not going to be able to transfer that knowledge. So it's like, we see if we don't put officers in stress, they can retain something and then go out and rep it 100 times. Okay? I teach Scott an arm bar. He could rep that arm bar really good the last 30, 40 times he does it. And gets the tap. But now the first time I give him a guy that gives him resistance off it, he's probably missing the arm bar, right? Because now the stress or the physical resistance has changed.
Right.
And again, when we built level 1 and level 2, we just didn't want a more advanced level 1 because everything in level 1 is just fundamental. Just get so good at level 1 over and over again. You don't got to think about it. Your sequences are good. If something fails, you're going to the next problem. Those types of things. We wanted our level 2 to be all about how do departments send guys to this course that they are taught to build a structured, what we call reality-based training program. And that reality-based training program is we're using force on force to meet objectives, but our officers are going to be put in drills where they don't know what it is and they have to process and they have to fix a problem right away under immense stress. And we see them usually the first 1 or 2, like, yeah. Even when they run 3 or 4, it's always better, right? When we started running this at our department back in, I don't even know how long, at least 10, 15 years ago, you took the LCDs, lowest common denominator, guys at your department that are just not good. The training wheels are falling off. We're pausing them constantly. They're horrendous. But by year 2 of doing box drills, say if we did them 2-3 times a year, by year 2, that LCD was becoming competent in processing and acting under stress. They were now recognizing their gun was at lockback. They were now not rushing a guy that they just shot with a knife. I shot you with a knife in your hand, and I'm 12 yards away. Why am I rushing up to you? The knife doesn't hurt me back here, right? So slowing down these things. In police work, we have to be familiar with fast, but we also have to know when to pump the brakes. You talked about it earlier, right? Like, hey, you're in a pursuit and the guy stops the car. Why are we rushing the car?
Right.
Right. Because sometimes in police work, we're taught to be so familiar with fast, we don't understand when to pump the brakes and hold off.
No. And, you know, we talked off camera about our community had that problem too, initially post 9/11 with everything was very dynamic and took time to learn to go into a more deliberate combat type clearance and save some lives. Hey, this is Bruno, and you've been watching the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast, and thanks for watching. Now back to the podcast. So let me ask you this one. When you guys go in, and let's say you're working with a department or an agency you've never trained with before, do you look at their level? Are you briefed on their level? Or do you guys just go into your base protocols and start instructing and see where they're at? What's the entry level mechanism for that?
So being a private company, we're pretty lucky because the people that want to come to our courses come to our courses. They're not being told by their department, their state, they got to come.
Okay.
So for the most part, we're lucky. Like when I run the state program, we fail multiple people out almost every course. And that's because we have guys at their department saying they got to go because they got to get this certification to teach at the academy. We don't pass them. If they're not able to demo and do the moves, they don't get passed. Now, we have a SOP set up. If there's someone in class that can't get up off the ground, they're going to complete the class. They're paying to go through it, but their certification isn't going to be instructor certification. It's going to be a completion of the course. Right. And we haven't had to do that very often in the private sector. And the reason we don't have to do that much is because we get people that want to come.
Coming is
now, they might not be blue belts in jiu-jitsu. They might not be a collegiate level wrestler. But if that's a competent cop, we built this system to be taught and transferred to the competent level police officer. Okay?
Train the trainer.
Train the trainer. And then we give them a whole back end of material. We have a course that has all the student guides, lesson plans, all that, and then an entire video library. So when they leave, they can continue to review and train off the video library because it's an instructional. It's 5 hours of instruction of what we just covered in 40 hours that they can train on their phone or through our app or on the computer. So yes, there's all levels of guys that are coming through there. But the way we've built the system, an order that we've taught it to build in extra reps, we add in some resistance and then they get to recover off of that.
Got it.
Okay. We are seeing guys going away. And then 2 weeks later, I'm getting a body cam video of them like crushing it on the street in the live setting, the non-sterile setting. Right. And it's
So
like,
it's working.
that's the highest level of pressure testing, right? We pressure test in the training room as much as we want. But unless it counts for all the marbles, that's your highest level.
No, and those are so rewarding. My last job, the guys that would train the guys, we would get SWAT guys call back and say, for the team we had out there, the message would be like, hey, if the team didn't show us how to pan a door this way, do that, do this, we would have lost guys on this. And you share that with everybody because it's very rewarding, right?
Sure.
And it was really cool to, I was more of a director level running the team, but for the guys actually teaching it and working it, it was very rewarding to share that message with them. So let me ask you this next one then. Like you guys have a national footprint right now.
Yeah.
So you're teaching, you've got, reach everywhere. I believe you are based primarily in Charleston and Cape Coral, Florida.
Yep.
But you can export to any location if somebody wanted it.
Yeah, we're 100% remote. As long as we have a host location, we can put on the course, whether that be a private custom course, if you just want certain blocks of instruction that we have, or the full level 1 or level 2. Level 1 is a prereq for level 2. But I want to go back to level 1. One thing that really attracted me to when I was the student, right? I was having my interview, if you will. What really attracted me to the level 1, I was already a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'd already been through a ton of combatives courses. throughout my military career and as a law enforcement officer is how simple it was. Simple techniques that are repeatable throughout the whole curriculum, just in different areas, but you're seeing the same body mechanics just in different areas. There's some stuff out there that's overcomplicated in my opinion, and then the competent level officer is not going to remember that after a 40-hour course 2 weeks down the road, because none of the techniques are the same. They're not repeatable techniques. So throughout my law enforcement career and in the military, simple and repeatable things are normally what work under high stress circumstances.
Agreed. And I've seen that as well too. You go somewhere and it's so complicated. You're like, was that move 32 or 15? I don't remember, but somewhere in there in between is the real move, right?
Yep.
So, no, I gotcha.
We teach off a triangle. So like I look at it is we started out with just building skills. So underhooks, how to break grips, what's a good stance, right? Changing levels, how to control an arm drag, how to create a frame, how to strike, how to do punch defense. Those are just skills, right? They're not tactics, those are skills. Then we talk about the principles and concepts of every position and situation that we teach, and then we add the tactic. I want those guys to be problem solvers, not technicians. They're going to have to build that skill set up to be technicians. But if they can solve problems, it's going to save them a lot of work, because when they freak out or panic and anger really doesn't ever solve anything. Usually makes it worse for us. So it's like, we want those guys to stay calm and realize that, hey, everything fails. Everything fails at some point in some situation versus somebody. Don't panic. Here's the next option. What do I do now? You have 5 main principles. It's going to fall into one of those categories.
Right. So what does it take? What if I wanted you to come in, tell me what I have to be able to host a level 1 or a level 2?
Yeah. So a level 1, it's pretty easy. We just need a matted area that can fit up to 24 to 30 officers to train. It's nothing too crazy. We've done it at jiu-jitsu gyms locally. So like if a police department doesn't have this massive mat room, which many of them don't, they're expensive. Oftentimes jiu-jitsu gyms are, they like law enforcement, so they'll open it up. And then you can sign up as a host. Doesn't mean you have to fill every slot. That is saying, hey, this is where it's going to be at. You'll sign up so many officers, but then we'll advertise it for you. We'll help you fill up slots as well. And then for the level 2, we have a few more things. We need a matted area as well, but we also need an area to run force-on-force scenarios. So some sort of like Sims house, kill house, something like that, to do those box drills within. And then a vehicle. We cover vehicle extractions in level 2 as well, which is something that we're finding to be a pretty big deficiency in the career field. I know where I'm from in North Carolina, coming out of the academy, you're not taught how to take someone out of a car, yet we're having to do it on a regular basis. So kind of set it, and that's not unusual anywhere. So it's setting us up for failure for something that we have to do on a regular basis. So we cover that in level 2.
Got it. Awesome. And it's funny you bring that up. One of the largest requested items we always would get how to do forced vehicle stops, just because it's not something that's being taught. And it's crazy because they teach you guys how to pit cars, but they don't, once the cars stop, the training is ended. And that's when it becomes really volatile right then and there. Because now you have this guy that, honestly, if you think about it, he's in a barricade.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going from there. It's just a small one, right? So
yeah, and I think a lot of people don't think about they think about just the hands-on. How do I get this guy out of the seat of the car? They don't think about all the other factors of who's got lethal coverage was. If this thing goes loud, do I have a shooting solution? There's again a lot of places that maybe show just a hands-on solution, but not the shooting solution portion of it.
Right. No,
My partner has to disengage. Do I know where he's moving? Do I know where I'm moving? If you don't train moving it together, you're not moving together.
Right.
You're gonna end up being in split. How do we mitigate crossfires out of these things?
Yeah. As soon as you introduce that thing called the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It is. And that's where we're finding when we're teaching this is like, hey, everyone wants to do vehicle extraction and yank dudes out of cars because that's fun. And we do that a lot. And we teach it as a patrol level function, because if it's a SWAT function or a takedown unit function, it's a briefed plan.
Right.
That is different. So if I stop a car that's got a suspended license, maybe the guy's drunk, I gotta get him out of the car and stuff. That's where we're seeing all these occur. It's not occurring on the SWAT vehicle takedown or the warrant squad that's doing a vehicle takedown, because they probably already briefed it. They train together and they do this all the time.
Yeah, and they're ready for the escalation.
They're ready for the escalation.
Right. They've got numbers to throw at it. They got tech to throw at it, whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then add the other few fun things in there, like maybe some limo tent and, this, that, and the other. And it just changes that down because now you don't even know who's in the back seat, et cetera, et cetera. It's a whole game changer there. No, we actually just did a video for women on situational awareness not too long ago. And we did it because we were getting inquiries about it. And we threw it on Instagram. And the next thing I know, Tulsi Gabbard is posting it and it went viral and it's got like 8 million views. So we're actually doing one again right now, targeting women. And I just took 2 ladies out to a range and we were demonstrating how to drive out of confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting being a passenger when they're smashing vehicles and you have nothing to hold on to. That's all. I'm sitting there trying to narrate and I'm like, oh, fuck, here it comes.
Yeah, like a pinball. Yeah.
But no, I love it. So that's what it takes to host it. Wow, we've got everybody going, how the hell do I get a hold of these guys? Let's talk about your website. How do they get a hold of you? Contact information. Let's put it all out there.
Yeah. So the website is efcombatives.com. That is also the Instagram handle is EF Combatives. The YouTube is EF Combatives. Our app is EF Combatives. So we have multiple online instructionals that are like, if you can't get to a course and you want to have some training, or your department only has 5 guys and they won't send you anywhere, like the entire level 1 is in user format online as well. The vehicle extraction is separate online as well. We go through taking guys out of cars, multiple different ways to move depending on situations. As long as you're not violating principles, usually a lot of ways to do things, right? Like we talk about this all the time. Like we can hit that door and probably come up with 4 different ways to come through the door and hit our points of domination.
Right.
Now, depending on the scenarios, the resources, like one might be better than the other for certain ones. But like as long as you're not violating principles, usually multiple ways to do it. And that's kind of the mindset that we have towards them. Now I'll say, hey, these are what we suggest, but here are a couple ways that you can do them as well. And those are the main platforms we have is.
So they're great. Just for anybody that's listening or watching, I obviously follow them. And if you're like me on Instagram, especially running a business, I don't have a lot of time to dick around. And my average time on somebody's feed is about 3 seconds on a reel.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I always watch everything. You guys put out great information. It's informative to me because I'm a thinking person.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when you're running a scenario or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, that's something to think about right there. And so, we talk about keeping the freaking knife sharp, right? Keeping that edge. And I think you guys do a great job on that. So I'll tell you, as a minimum, even if you're just listening and you're like, I'm not in this business, it's good to watch because situational awareness. Situational awareness to me is huge. And if you've seen the video, now maybe you'll do the time to think about it. I've probably had 200 people tell me that they never had a first aid kit in their vehicle until they listened to something I said in a podcast, or even more people not know where to put their gun in a car. And it's one of those where maybe you guys will have already said a pearl of wisdom that's going to change somebody's game, which is what I love. So let me ask you this. So for the average police officer that's out there that is like, man, my department won't fund this. Is there a way? I mean, they can open enroll and come to you guys too, right? So
they can open enroll to come to us. Again, with the online instructionals, we put out a ton of free content on our media pages, Instagram, through EFC, through police posts, our YouTube page, EF Combatives, long form content. We put out a lot of free content for people, right? Because the end all mission is to train cops and make them better. That's going to help cops go home to their families more, but it also benefits society as well.
No, I agree. So the one thing I'll add to that is watching content is one thing, getting hands-on is another. For me, I can watch a lot of people shoot, but if I'm not on the range, my shooting sucks.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's one of those that I'll tell you for. So you mentioned back in 2000 when this first started for you. I'm an older guy. I'm 60. But I remember all the Affliction T-shirts coming out and everything else.
I had one.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember back then, everybody wanted to be a cage fighter. And it was probably 1 in 1,000. Whereas in today's day and age, there's some freaking legit cage fighters walking around every day that you'll never know. because MMA has had that growth.
Yeah.
You know, I am of the mindset right now where 20 years ago, if you piss me off, I'm going to approach your car. I'm never approaching a car anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be in a situation where I'm under duress because I'm going to shoot you. It's just, you don't know what you don't know now, right?
There's
So-
jujitsu gyms on every corner, right? And that proves one thing. There's people learning how to choke people out every day. People, one, aren't dying. Two, people aren't just going and attacking people that have skill. Most of the time, the people that are seeking out learning how to skill and defend themselves are doing it for the good. But that doesn't mean in all groups there's people that go off the rails or have mental issues. You just made it earlier. We're talking about like, hey, we have all these people coming back from overseas now from a long war, right? More trained guys. You never know if some person's going to have some sort of mental fall off that we could be dealing with these people. And to not be training in person is crazy. That is a broken police model. We need to have hands-on range training. CQB, it needs to be continuous and it needs to be all the time. That's how the profession changes to protect society better. But cops, like if your department is not buying into you, they're not like sending you to trainings, they're not doing that stuff. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of my own dollars going to trainings, getting myself trained to get to the point where I'm at now. It's not like my department paid for me to go to all of these trainings, right? Hours of blood, sweat, tears, and my own money.
This, it brings up a really good point in history. So pre 9/11, the mission of SOCOM really was go somewhere, in particular units I was in, go somewhere, do an op with maybe a follow on and redeploy and come home. It was not sustained combat operations for eternity. Very good at prosecuting targets as a combined force. Then the introduction of taking prisoners off target came in, which was something that really was never done. It was either rescuing a hostage or grabbing a person, not 10, 15 and having to control them. And what we saw in the military was, how the fuck do we handle people? Because we all knew we could break flex cuffs. We had been trained on that. And now these guys can too. And it was an interesting dynamic of, I remember like, how do we prisoner handle and all that kind of stuff. And that came from, to be honest with you, combatives and law enforcement. And we were talking the other day, myself, Scott Miller, Norm Hooten, and Hoist are going to do a podcast and talk about, you know, how combatives did not exist in the SOCOM community in the 80s and how it came in because Hoist and I started talking about it. And we really want to talk in open forum about how it came in and where it is now. There's not an operator nowadays that is not in some level of MMA, BJJ, combatives training. Everybody does it. Everybody does fitness. That's good though. But that did not used to happen. And it's because the evolution of the modern warfighter is amazing in my time. To see, it used to look like an NFL training camp. Now everybody looks like mountain goats that can fight on the mats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different dynamic, you know? Sure. I don't know if that really applies to law enforcement because it's a different, but I will say this, anybody that straps on a gun belt and a badge has this responsibility.
Especially when you're protecting society. If you have to take someone into custody, you have to go hands-on. Whether they're cooperative or not, you still, at some point, even if you shoot them, you still have to go hands-on and put them in cuffs at some point, right? So, you know, Hoist Gracie proved to the world in 1993 in UFC 1, I watched it, that jiu-jitsu changed how martial arts was looked at.
Absolutely. Ken Shamrock found that out.
Yep. and then even the wrestlers, you go like UFC 4, I think he fights Dan Severn, submits him eventually, right? The wrestler controlled him most of the time, but couldn't really create a lot of damage and get submitted. But then martial arts has evolved too. You can't be just a jiu-jitsu world champion and be good at MMA. You can't just be a wrestler and be good at MMA. You can't be just a striker and be good at MMA. Now it's evolved into, these kids are training all three facets of it, like from the time they're young to they're there, right? So we've seen it evolve. Combatives has to evolve too, like police work. Like we didn't have anything before 93 as far as martial arts. You had like your karates, your taekwondos, you know, that stuff all got kind of, in boxing, that kind of all got proven wrong in like the first UFC, right? But now these guys have started to bring it together. law enforcement's always behind. If it's not equipment, usually equipment, they're pretty good. But when it's doing anything hard as far as physical tactics stuff, they're always behind. And so it's amazing to me that now just starting to train some sort of grappling is coming to light. And I've seen it because when I was even teaching in 16, 17, we don't break for lunch. We roll for lunch. We just do an open mat. We roll for lunch. 2, 3 of the instructors, maybe 1, 2 students. Now we have some class, we have 30 students on the mat at lunchtime doing jujitsu or wrestling or something. What blows my mind is going back before that. Why weren't we utilizing wrestling in police work before now? Wrestling's been around for how many centuries? You know what I mean? Like when we started to say, hey, for law enforcement, let's do this. Let's not pick wrestling, which is one of the most important forms of being able to control someone, take them down, control them on the ground, which is where most cop fights go. If I'm going to go to the ground, I should have this skill set. If we're going to stay up, I need to be able to strike and be able to create distance, right? So it's like, how did it take it this long to get this far? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm glad that it's at where it's at. And we have people like on my team that are putting in the work and effort to make it a well-rounded curriculum that we integrate into that non-sterile environment.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. If you don't see the requirement for this, you're probably treating wearing the badge as a job and not a career and a mission.
Correct.
You're showing up to work and getting a check. You're not all in.
You're here for the pension and the dental insurance.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. There's people that join the military and stuff like that, but at least they're joining. But yeah, you got to be all in. The other thing is and this, we're talking about law enforcement, but the reason I conceal carry everywhere, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about being in a store and somebody else is getting attacked.
Yep.
And I want to be able to make the difference because I'm not going to stand by and be like, man, I wish I would have had a gun.
Right. It's not who you are.
It's just not who we are. And I think that goes for the everyday citizen is like, if you have these skills that you guys are teaching, and if you understand it and you have the mindset, you can flip that switch and you can make a difference. And look at how many videos you see. Again, today, everything is on video.
Yep.
Look at how many videos you see where you see 5 dudes standing there doing fucking nothing.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, and then there's some woman running in there and swinging a purse or something. You're like, what the fuck? I mean, I got it. The low T environment, that's a whole other topic for me right now with the millennial male, but anyhow.
Yeah.
So again, this is not just a law enforcement military thing. This is a cultural thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think, Jay, you hit on a good point with like the trajectory of like jujitsu and combatives and all that. And something that we're huge on is getting out of our silos when we train. Historically, we've had firearms guys. They're really good at shooting guns. Got our DT guys. They're really good at laying hands on someone, striking. And we got our PT studs. And historically in the law enforcement community, a lot of times they don't cross-pollinate. So we're creating scars, say in the combatives community, that when you go to shoot a gun, it can be a problem, and vice versa. Tearing down those silos to where our flat range drills aren't compromising us in a combative situation, and the way that we're training for human performance, PT, isn't compromising us, making us more dynamic athletes, because that's what a combative environment is a dynamic athletic situation. Making sure all those are synced up and those people are at least talking and syncing up programs, I think is the future of law enforcement training and probably military training as well.
So are you finding, like a lot of law enforcement agencies, we primarily only worked with the SWAT teams and they all would have a military liaison. Are you finding that in most of the academies and departments now that they have somebody tasked with this type of training there, or is it completely void?
Not yet. So even when we call around, like we are the fastest growing law enforcement combatives company right now. We're blowing up and for good, right? Like we have a great solid back end. We have a great program and great instructors, right? Everyone has a passion, but departments aren't training hands-on training. They're still shooting completely flat range stuff. We have to understand that the real world that we work in, what's downrange in Walmart? So if I'm forced to keep my muzzle downrange for 80 hours in the academy, and I only get 80 hours in the academy, and then I get thrown out in field training and I have a downrange 360 problem, how am I manipulating my gun? Right? So we try to say like, hey, do your fundamentals on the range, do your fundamentals on DT, do your fundamentals on PT, but your PT, DT, and range instructors should be cross-pollinating what they're training, how they're doing it. So they're seeing that skill in almost all sessions. So they're getting it everywhere they go. If my PT guys are only running those guys 5 miles a day and they're never doing sprinting and agility, in police work, when are they running 5 miles? It's not job specific. Is there benefits of running long distance? Yes, don't eliminate it. But why are we not sprinting, running agility, movements, those types of things in the PT training? Gun guys, I don't need to train DT. I'm only a gun guy. Well, in law enforcement, it's like 0.0037% of contacts are actually done with a gun. And it's even less that the gun is fired. So now you're saying you're a gun guy, but the overwhelming majority of what you're going to do is with your mouth. And then the second one is going to be with your hands. So it's like, where are we integrating this? So if you are a DT guy and you shoot a 70 on paper, you're going to suck when you get in a gunfight. And if I have a 25-yard problem, my DT is probably not helping me. Right. So it's like, we have to take these silos down, get out of our echo chambers and start training everything as a full spectrum. Like shootings happen in 0 to 7 feet around cars, usually in low light conditions. How often are people training in that?
None.
That's a problem.
And you're right. So let me ask you this. What is, from a big scope, and I know there's always the outliers, would you say the biggest resistance is finance and funding, getting the officers trained, or the buy-in on this type of training?
I think it's the buy-in.
The buy-in
from the upper echelons right now. And I think this is probably historic throughout time. You introduce something that's newer. The people that are decision makers maybe are resistant to it because they're not comfortable with it. So I think that's one problem. And I think the second problem is, from my perspective, where I came from, some older officers that are still on the line that are like your not your supervisors, but your influencers, if you will, on the line still, not wanting to take a rookie, put their arm around them and get better together. Egos are a huge problem in the profession. And I think the quicker that we can get egos walls down, the better the profession will be training wise as well. They'll be more adapt to change.
A big thing is I don't think funding is the issue, because if the police department needs to get funding for something, they'll get funding for it. Body cams, they found funding for it. Hey, they want to go to optics, they find funding for it. De-escalation training after 2020. I think the city of Austin was like $10,000 a week they were spending in de-escalation training, right? So like, if we need to find funding for training, we can find it. It's there somewhere. The biggest thing is, one, people on the job don't want to get hurt. Two, the supervisors don't want to get them hurt, because then you're saying, oh, I got 3 or 4 guys out, because we built a soft culture in police work.
Yep.
So over the last 4 decades, we built a soft culture over police work. Well, we can't train because if we get hurt, now this guy's going to look to get his 75% and go off on paid leave, right? So now you got guys that are professionals that trying to get injured at work. And the best time to do that is during training.
Got it.
We have to break that culture. We have to have strong admin that understand that training is going to make your department better for you and for society, and understand that. The other thing we have to do is get the word out to society that your police force is very undertrained, because who's coming to protect you?
So the crazy
and once
thing,
that happens, then they're going to start putting the money in and demand us to be better training. They think we're trained robots. So
they think everyone's a tier one cop coming to their door.
Cop, it's a tier 1 cop.
But this is a different conversation I've had, but it's amazing because you're having this thing that we're seeing in departments now, and tell me I'm wrong, that you basically have a senior pool of guys that are all in the specialty units. They're in the gang unit, they're in the SWAT unit, they're in narcotics, maybe even, in different specialties. And then you have this huge pool of young guys and gals with 5 or less years on the job. And that's where you have that mix of, they're not all in to begin with. And that's the pool that needs this.
Yeah.
That
at
is
the academy level. Start it there.
Yeah, it's got to start at the academy. And where we're seeing success is when they are starting to integrate this type of training in the academy early. They're used to it. So when you plant the seed early, it's just.
Are there any departments you guys have standing contracts with that are like, this is part of their training program?
Oh, yeah. So Grand Rapids is probably the one we have the most statistics from because he was lieutenant when he brought us in. And he's now the captain. He's done his 2023 presentation for us, his 2024 presentation for us. And he really brought us in 2022 because they had an officer shoot a guy in the back of the head, and then the DAs charged him with murder, and it was a trial. And the lieutenant, now captain, almost took it too much to heart that because he was in charge of training, he didn't give this guy enough training for it. And I've had this conversation where it's like, hey, you can't take this on. But he went out and was like, I'm bringing the best training group in. I'm going to revamp this entire department's training. His admin allowed him to do that as a lieutenant and as captain. And now they have 26 EFC instructors at their department. They have 2 mat rooms now that they do training in. One is smaller, one is bigger. They actually have a hood that comes down over top of them for stress drills. And they have their own grappling club at their police department. And the 23 and 24 statistics, like now, out of all their uses of force, and when you say all their uses of force, that could be like if they have to shoot someone, tase someone, whatever. But out of all of them, 71 and 72%, 2 years back to back, have been solved with EFC concepts or techniques. Right?
It speaks for itself, right
It
there.
speaks for itself because, you're like 70. Okay, but there's 30 more. Yeah, but that might be like, hey, it was a taser. Well, taser isn't an EFC technique.
Right.
But out of like, say 900 and some uses of force, 70 some percent of them are already being solved with just EFC techniques. They had 4 situations in 2023 where they said this almost 100% would have ended in an officer involved shooting. And it didn't. They were pulling a guy out of a car. He's reaching for a gun. They had 3 guys all on the same page, 4 guys coming in. One of the guys pinned it in there because if they're disengaging, they're probably in a gunfight at close range, right? And now they're in a crossfire area. They pinned it. They pulled him out. They stapled arms. They had great communication. Ended up taking him into custody, recovering the gun. Same passenger on the same side on that same incident. Same incident was happening at the same time concurrently. And those guys crushed it. They had 2 other ones the same way. 2024, I just got the stats yesterday. I think I'm going to send them to you guys. I was like, oh, look, 2024 is done now. And same thing, almost identical. And they had 2 or 3 situations where like, hey, we ended up saving our officers from getting an officer involved shooting because 1, awareness, our tactics were better. We're ahead. We're playing chess, bad guys playing checkers. So yeah, we have departments that are all in. We have an agency program. So like you have a minimum of 1 or 2 instructors. You can outfit your whole agency by licensing our app. So they have all the training material. Every officer has it so that everyone's on the same page. Hey, we're going to training. We're doing 2-man team tactics on this day. Review your videos before you come, right? So we have so many resources out there for them. Departments are jumping on. It's going to be really good. We're not done yet. We're evolving. We refuse to, we'll never have a perfect product. One of the things with our instructors is like, if my instructors decide they don't want to learn anymore and they lose passion and they don't want to get better, they're not instructing for me anymore. When Jay decides, hey, his passion's gone and I don't want to learn anymore, then I should take a position in the company where I am not going to be out instructing and building curriculum. Like Monday was my day off and I had a week off since I was in New York in July, in the beginning of July, I haven't had a week off. Monday, I went and trained with the Fort Myers SWAT team. Why? Because I want to help teach, I want to help learn, and I want to stay relevant. So it's like when I was home on vacation, I called the guys up. One of my really good friends is now the TL there, or the team commander. I'm like, hey, what do you guys got on any SWAT trainings these days? We're going to be doing physical stuff. He's like, yeah, we're at the range. I went to the range. I shot with those guys, right? I hung out with those guys, just being around those guys. Why? Yeah, I'm on vacation. But like Jay's got to stay relevant. If I'm going to keep evolving and be teaching, I got to stay relevant. Once you're not relevant, you shouldn't be teaching anymore.
Yep. No, I agree. So let me ask you this one. You guys are where you're at today, present day. What's the vision? Where are you going with this?
We want to provide individual cops, departments, and teams with the best, most modern tactics, solutions for law enforcement with the best backend that they can have, whether it's at the individual level or at the team level or at the department level, to change what the professional law enforcement looks like on body cam, to make it safer for cops, but to make it safer for society.
typically a boring use of force is a good use of force. And we're trying to make use of forces very boring.
I'll buy into that one for sure. Like if they did it right.
Right. It's not going to make social media because the cops were so much in control because they had put in the work ahead of time, and it's just not going to go viral. That's a great use of force.
And Adam, obviously we as police post, we have the largest online police handle on social media, and the amount of videos that go viral with the most likes are the ones that are usually the worst tactic.
Right.
Or that are crazy. So I tell people in class, every class I teach now, I go, listen, we post our students. I can post all my body cam I want. I train all the time. I've been training for a long time, but our students retaining it. We post our students' body cams crushing team tactics all the time, and it gets decent views, but it looks boring. Why? Because the bad guy doesn't have a chance. No one wants to see it.
I'm guilty of that too. I would say 90% of the shit that I forward to my buddies is either exactly that, a bad takedown or something like that, or a really bad skydiving landing or jump. Because I'm just like, you see this shit?
He just got tore up.
It's human behavior though, right? It's human behavior. Oh man, you see something, oh, that was cool. That was really good. Okay, next.
Right? I need a next dopamine hit.
So I tell people, you don't want to be a YouTube sensation. Get so good at tactics, they're boring.
They're boring. I love that, man. That's awesome. So for you, you've been there since June now, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of settling in and all that kind of dust and stuff. Where do you want to go? What are you telling him we need to do?
Yeah. So it's been, you feel things out the first month to kind of figure out where you're at and stuff. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, which, I already had relationships with everyone in the company. I wasn't walking in blindly to anything. I wouldn't have left a good salary and a pretty good career to do that. I think where I see us going is we're not going to go and create a million new courses just to throw courses out there if there's not a need. But one of the reasons they brought me on is to get another set of eyeballs on things and have a unique perspective with my TAC background and stuff like that. Short term, I think we'll continue to run level 1s, level 2s. We've recently developed a SWAT combatives course. From my experience, when you put SWAT guys in a combative environment, the wheels fall off. Because they don't rep it oftentimes in the kill house, where in law enforcement, most search warrants, you're laying hands on someone, even if it's just to put handcuffs on them, but you're laying hands on people and you're not burning people down. So we've developed this curriculum. We'll be rolling it out the end of this year. So that'll be short-term kind of where we're going with a new course. But outside of that, it's making small tweaks based off of trends that we see to the level 1 and level 2 curriculum. So we're never going to have a stagnant curriculum. I took this course 2 years ago for the first time as a student. And that course to the course I taught this week in Texas, there's techniques that we're teaching in there that were not taught 2 years ago because of trends. Jay coined this, what is a trend? It's when we see 3 incidents within close proximity to each other on body camera. That's becoming now a trend, and we need to start addressing it, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, trends, you got to get ahead of trends fast.
You got to get ahead of them fast. Yeah. Cost lives.
So I'll say 2 things. One, when you guys do put the SWAT combatives course out there, make sure I'm tracking it. Make sure you let me know, because that's primarily who we're working with now. And we'd love to get your word out to all the teams, because they're always looking for training, and we are networked with all the big teams. The other thing, I have something to challenge you guys with. So we have been asked by probably over 150 agencies to put on a national SWAT competition as Born Primitive. We're going to do a Sons of Liberty Gunworks. We're asking Bert Soren of Sorenex to jump on it, and a few other people. We want to create a SWAT competition that is not a tactical games, that actually has some thinking and grading involved in it.
Yes.
I think it would be fucking awesome to have a hands-on scenario in there.
Yeah.
And we literally just spent some time in a shoot house the other day crafting some of the scenarios we want in this that nobody's using in these competitions. But I think you guys would have a real good role on that, and you guys would be the ones running that station and promoting the business and all that. So fall of next year, we're going to start putting it together in the spring. We need to talk about that and do something like that.
Yeah. Let's follow up calls on that for sure.
Yeah. That's always one of my pet peeves about SWAT comps. It's basically like a CrossFit comp with shooting. And it's like Like you could be the worst team in a house, but if you got some studs, like you're gonna win.
Literally, you just send your farm animals that can shoot. And, you know,
We have we have a farm animal for us.
Full-time farm animal.
We have a full-time farm animal. We hired one of my lead instructors. He's a freak of nature. I don't know.
Yeah, they're out there, man. I've known a couple guys, world's best fighter, shooter. You're not gonna ever out PT him, but a fucking mental midget. You know what I mean? Like absolutely, here is the plan you're gonna do because you are not smart enough to develop the plan.
And see, that's where Matt's a little different because Matt's pretty freaking smart, right? Like he's a 6-time semifinalist in CrossFit Games.
Yeah, that's
he's 235 pounds. He's a collegiate All-American wrestler. He's a purple and brown belt Masters world champion. He's black belt now. Like, and he's a freak, but he's smart. Like he's in charge of all my posts now because he just is. He's just. We're lucky to have him, even though we like to pick on his whiteboarding, the way his brain works. But yeah, he is a. I like the word farm animal. Bruno, I'm going to steal that
because the women are unicorns. The women are unicorns. The men are farm animals.
Yeah,
I love it.
So, I like it.
So, all right, for our guest off camera, did we miss anything? Anything we should be talking about? Fuck, we're doing all right.
We're good when the boss says.
Yeah, when the boss says we're okay.
You guys are good. You're good. I think we've gotten there. Is there anything for EFC that we haven't talked about you'd like our audience to hear? Because I'm going to tell you, this is people come to this podcast to hear about human performance, to hear about mindset, to hear about tactics, and to hear about gear. And you guys are like 3 or 4 of them. So
we're just trying to build relationships with as many individual cops and departments as possible so that we can spread what we feel is the best, like not just program, but the best skill sets, the best knowledge that is retainable, that is we're seeing being used right back on the streets right after they leave course.
All right, run through one more time how they get a hold of you guys, how they reach out to you.
Yeah, so Instagram, EF Combatives, pretty simple. Same with on the websites. Sister brands, EFT, Effective Fitness Training. My personal IG is LEO_combatives, Jay.
WADS BJJ, and then Police Post is like pretty much Police Post is like our portfolio now.
Yeah, what's funny is
kind of changed into like a portfolio rather than having 3 separate companies is kind of where it's leading to.
What's funny is I go through my IG so fast, and sometimes you have a post on the Leo one, sometimes you do on WADS BJJ, and I go to tell somebody, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know which one of the 3 it was. Because I look at it, I'm like, that's badass, like it, and keep going. I'm like, and then I'll be like, hey, did you see that? And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, I'd look at all 3. Which is nothing wrong with following all 3, right?
Right. And there's, I'm huge at like, hey, everything's controversial. There's multiple ways to do things. And they're not, you might have a preference over me, but the situation is going to dictate probably what's better, but it doesn't necessarily mean things are wrong. So trying to stay out of those arguments of like, how are we coming through the store? There's
So let me
many ways we can.
Let me throw this one out there. I make something that's black and white. It's a product. It's a pant.
Yeah.
I will put 20,000 pair of those pants out, and I'll have 3 tier 1 operators say I should change this one item, and it's not the same item, and then it would be the perfect pant. And I go to tell them, dude, I have 19,997 other guys that like it.
Yeah.
You 3 are the oddballs. Are like, Bruno, your pant's not right. I'll be like, all right, man. Well, it's the pant you're fucking getting.
Yeah, right. You're right. Like you're never gonna make anybody happy. You're not gonna make everybody happy.
No, you're not. And right? I think that what you guys do, and the reason we're in this room right now is the one word I like is fundamentals. Your fundamentals are extremely sound. Everything you guys are teaching, everything I literally asked 4 or 5 guys to scope you out. I'm like, hey man, am I missing something? And everybody's like, no, fundamentally, these guys are fucking solid. And I think that's what's important is if your fundamentals are solid, you guys have the ethos, which matters to me. It's a win. And then you just said something else too, that if you're listening, folks, you see a trend, you address it.
Yeah.
You're not just like, here's our POI, take it and leave it. And 10 years from now, it's the same POI.
Right.
You guys are like, no, we're seeing something here. Let's fucking jump on this and let's work. A lot of people will be like, hey, we got business. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So
the really important one that was a trend that we changed. The original vehicle extractions that we used to do is we would just kind of split that threshold so we could both work an arm, because the arms kill you. And most people are right-handed, and most people get shot from the driver's side. The gun's on the right side or whatever. So the near side guy takes the near side arm to the B pillar, and then we were coming to a clinch and pulling on the head, but we weren't controlling the near side or the far side arm right away. Well, there's a trend where there's 3 videos, 3 main ones, and I show them in the vehicle extraction class. Inside arm kills, inside arm shot the cops, inside arm shot the cops. Okay, so this is a trend developing. We need to make sure we're controlling that inside arm with that second guy immediately, and only controlling the head with one arm. And we're bicep tying or wrist tying the other one. So if they do go to the gun, we can pin it. He can't get it out, and our second guy can solve the problem, right? So like we've already solved that issue because it started being a trend. Now the big trend we're seeing is dudes are just coming out of the car. So your cover guy is useless because now you're in a crossfire. And you can't necessarily, in a non-briefed plan, right? You can't necessarily come back out because that's lanes of traffic. So you can't come too far out in. You're going to be coming in a lane of traffic, which could be a deadly physical force hazard to yourself. So it's like, what are ways that we move? How do we mitigate this? So that was the next trend we started solving and doing it. And, just solving these trends. And it takes, hey, we've got to pick these up. You watching these videos, can we actually see trends coming? And some people just miss them or they don't care. But the trends are how you keep your officers safe. That's how you keep your program relevant, is that you constantly make sure the trends are being covered.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll say from listening to everything you guys do, if you're listening to this and you're like, we're going to bring these guys in, my thing is, if you're going to bring them in, pay to have them in, do a level 1 and a level 2. And the reason I say that is the level 1 to me is the foundation. And the level 2, when you actually get into working in a house, working indoors, working with guns, is the moneymaker. You got to have the foundation to do the second one. But like, if you're going to bring them in, don't do the men. And that 6 months from that, why don't you get it all at once, right? So if you did a level 1 and level 2 back to back, how long would that be?
So it depends, because our level 1 can be done in 4 days or 5.
Okay.
Because you can do 10-hour days or 8. It's the same price. It just depends on what model you want. And then the level 2 is 4 days. So realistically, it'd be anywhere from 8 to 9 days.
And do you guys have the ability, I'm just thinking about all the teams we work with, do you guys have the ability to run a dual cadre? And the reason I asked that is like, hey, we're going to run half the SWAT team through on this one, and then we're going to run the other half because somebody has to be on call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. You have that ability too?
Yeah. I just was talking to a extremely large department. They're probably the second largest department in the country right now. And I got a call and they're like, hey, we got 60 full-time SWAT guys. We can only do, they have 4 teams like A, B, C, D. We'd have to do 4 weeks. Yeah, we can make that.
If you sell police uniforms, you know who the top 10 teams
are. So yeah, we have the availability with the instructor. So like, yeah, we're full-time. But again, just off the top of my head, out of our 33 adjuncts, we'll be utilizing at least 6 to 8 guys that are full-time SWAT team instructors that are also brown and black belts to support us in those roles. That's as well awesome. On the SWAT side of things, right? So it's like we have the resource, and we built a team full of guys that Scott and I learn from each other and from the guys that we teach with every course we do. There'll be something I'll write down in my notes. I'll be like, I'm stealing that. I'm gonna rephrase this, or I'm gonna use that phrase, or like.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love that. When you stop listening and you stop learning, you just said it. You're ineffective. You're done. I go to people's courses that they're teaching because they're like, Bruno, if you want to get up and talk about Born Primitive, we'd love to have you. And I'm sitting through the course, and the next thing I know is like, fuck, I'm gonna listen to everything that's going on here because I'm learning. So. No, guys, it's been awesome having you. Total pleasure. I love the conversation. We will do a follow-up and talk about some future things. And next time you guys come back in the podcast, hopefully we'll be in our new building, which is going to be a monster.
Nice.
And we'll have some fun there. We'll actually be able to train in the gym there and everything. Nice. But any closing comments from either of you guys?
No, just, if you're an officer, you need to be training. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to your community, you owe it to your department. You got to train. And that's the biggest thing, is getting the best training out there to as many cops as we possibly can. That's our mission.
So can I add to that? Because I'm an asshole. If you're an officer and you're not fit, you need to start with that. And I'll define it. If your waist is big in your shoulders, get in the gym. How's that?
I love it. Hog and heat.
Yeah. I love it.
Any closing comments?
Yeah, just from someone that left the profession very recently after a significant amount of time. One, remember humility as a cop. Two, remember egos will get you killed, and that the profession doesn't necessarily need you. So take your time off when you need to take time off. Don't kill yourself in the profession. Take your time for you. And with that, some of that time for you should probably be training to make sure you get back to your family at the end of your shift. Something I wish I'd have taken to heart sooner in my career. And as a police sergeant, when I left, I saw in some officers. So take that to heart. And it's a great profession if you want to jump into it. It is the best show on earth. You just got to take care of yourself while you're in it.
Yeah, so that's gold, and I'll tell you why. I don't have a psychologist. I don't have a therapist. I don't have any of that. I actually do. It's called shooting on the range. It's called the gym, and it's called mat work.
Yep.
Those three things to me are like mental health. They let you just if you walk up to me in the gym and I'm working out, I'm gonna be like, go the fuck away. That's my time. But no, I love that, and I think those are productive ways to get mental health because you're making a better you. So that's gold. I love it.
Yep.
Guys, it's been awesome. I come from military culture, and you can't have a podcast and be a military guy without a coin. So
that's awesome.
Each one of you, thank you, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you to the man in the corner. All right, guys. So EF Combatives, a lot of really good stuff coming out of them. Follow them, look at them. And if you're law enforcement, if you're not thinking about scheduling them, you probably shouldn't even be listening to this podcast. This is who I am. But thanks for watching The Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. We'll see you in the next show. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us at Born Primitive Tactical. I'll see you next time.